Admiral June stood tall on the bridge of his massive ship, the asterisk Eternal Victory asterisk. His dark uniform fit perfectly on his strong frame. Through the large window, he watched the burning planet below. Another world had fallen to the Dohan Empire. Another species now served his emperor. 3 days, he said to no one in particular. It took only 3 days to break them. Behind him, Commander Hannah looked up from her screen. The Trilaxians fought harder than most, Admiral. June turned to face her. His face showed no emotion. Not hard enough. The bridge of the asterisk Eternal Victory asterisk buzzed with activity. Officers worked at their stations, monitoring the fleet's 50 large warships and hundreds of smaller vessels. Screens showed the Trilaxian cities now in ruins. Their unbreakable shields had failed within hours against Dohan weapons. Officer Tai approached and bowed slightly. Admiral, the planet is secure. Their leaders have surrendered. June nodded. Any losses on our side? 2 small ships damaged. No deaths. June frowned. This was too easy. In his 30 years commanding the Dohan forces, battles had become less challenging. The Empire had conquered over 300 star systems in the past 100 years. No one could stand against them. Bring me the final report when it's ready, June ordered, and prepare the fleet to leave this system. We have wasted enough time here. As Tai left, Intelligence Officer Minho entered the bridge. He carried a small data device in his hand. His eyes showed excitement. Admiral, the Emperor has sent new orders. Minho announced. We are to explore a new target. June raised an eyebrow. Show me. Minho placed the device on the central table. A hologram appeared, showing a small blue-green planet spinning slowly in space. It orbited an average yellow star in an unremarkable part of a spiral galaxy. Earth, Minho said, the 3rd planet in a system of 8. June studied the hologram with mild interest. What makes this planet special? It looks ordinary. Our long-range scouts report intelligent life, Minho explained. But they are primitive. They have only reached their own moon. Their most powerful weapons use simple atomic energy. They have no unified world government. June moved his hand through the hologram, zooming in to see continents and oceans. How primitive. They still burn fossil fuels, Hannah said, reading from her screen. Their space vehicles rarely leave their own orbit. Most of their planet remains unexplored by them. June laughed. And the Emperor wants us to conquer such a simple world. There is no glory in this. Minho smiled. The Emperor believes this planet has valuable resources, and its star is in a strategic location. Also, the Emperor's birthday celebration approaches. He thinks this planet would make a fine gift. Commander Hannah brought up more images on the main screen. They showed Earth's cities, vehicles, and people going about their daily lives. Most wore simple clothing and traveled in wheeled vehicles on paved roads. They call themselves humans, Hannah said. Our language experts have studied their communications. They have many different languages and cultures. They spend much time fighting among themselves. June watched a video of human soldiers training with basic weapons. They looked small and weak compared to Dohan warriors. They will surrender quickly, he said, perhaps even without a fight when they see our ships. Officer Tag returned with reports on tablets. The Trilaxian operation is complete, Admiral. All resistance has ended. June barely glanced at the reports before signing them. Good. Now set course for this Earth. Standard travel speed. Ta looked surprised. Not maximum speed, Admiral. No rush, June replied with a slight smile. Let's enjoy the journey. This conquest will be simple. We should arrive in 30 days. As the officers returned to their duties, June continued watching the images of Earth. These humans looked so fragile. Their cities could be destroyed in minutes by Dohan weapons. Their militaries would fall in hours. Later that night, June sat alone in his private quarters. The room was large but simple. A bed, a desk, and a small table with a plant from his homeworld. On the wall hung medals from his many victories. He poured a drink and looked at the small screen on his desk. It showed Earth again. He zoomed in on the blue oceans and green forests. Such a pretty world to destroy. A soft beep indicated a message. It was from his old friend, Admiral Kwan, commanding another fleet across the galaxy. June. The message read, "Heard about your new target. Earth seems hardly worth your time. Perhaps the Emperor is giving you a rest after so many difficult battles. Enjoy the simple victory." June smiled and sent a short reply. Some planets fall without much glory. This will be one of them. As he prepared for sleep, June felt a strange feeling. Something about this simple blue planet bothered him. Why would the Emperor send his best fleet to conquer such an easy target? The next morning, the massive Dohan fleet left the Trilaxian system. 50 huge warships and their support vessels formed a perfect formation as they entered faster than light travel. Behind them, the conquered planet continued to burn in places. On the bridge, Jun watched the star map as their course plotted toward Earth. "Tell me more about these humans," he said to Minho. "They are physically weaker than us," Minho replied. "Their average lifespan is less than 100 years. Their technology is simple. They have basic computers and early artificial intelligence. Any strange abilities? Any surprising weapons?" "None, Admiral. They are completely ordinary. Our scouts report no threats we cannot easily handle." Jun nodded, but that strange feeling remained. In all his years of conquest, he had learned that every species had something unexpected about them. Some hidden strength or secret weapon. What did these humans have? "Monitor all their communications as we get closer," Jun ordered. "I want to know everything about them before we arrive." "Yes, Admiral," Minho said, "but they won't even detect our approach until we're in their system. Their scanning technology is too primitive." June turned back to the window, watching the stars streak by as they traveled. 30 days, he said quietly. 30 days until Earth falls to the Dohan Empire. Little did he know that the simple blue planet held surprises beyond his imagination. The humans of Earth were unlike any species the Dohan had ever faced before, and Admiral Jun's perfect record of victories was about to be challenged in ways he could never expect. 28 days passed as the Dohan fleet moved through space toward Earth. Admiral Jun spent most of this time studying the reports about humans. The more he learned, the more he felt certain this would be an easy victory. "Humans fight each other constantly," he told his officers during a meeting. "They have split their planet into nearly 200 territories they call nations. They cannot even unite their own world." Commander Hanna nodded. "Their weapons are basic. They still use metal projectiles and chemical explosives." Officer Todd laughed. "Their space vessels are so slow and primitive. They have never left their own solar system." Only Intelligence Officer Minho looked thoughtful. "Admiral, there is something strange about these humans." Jun raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "They advance very quickly," Minho explained. "Just 100 years ago, they could barely fly in their atmosphere. Now they have reached their moon. Most species take much longer to develop." Jun dismissed this concern with a wave of his hand. "It doesn't matter how fast they learn. They are still centuries behind us." 2 days later, the Dohan fleet exited faster than light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. They positioned themselves just beyond the orbit of a small icy planet the humans called Pluto. "Begin standard approach," Jun ordered. "Scan the entire system." The massive fleet moved forward, their engines glowing in the darkness of space. Their sensors reached out, mapping planets, moons, and the scattered rocks between them. Suddenly, Officer Ta called out, "Admiral, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from Earth." Jun frowned. "What kind of energy?" "Unknown, sir. It's not in our database." Before Jun could respond, Commander Hanna spoke up. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from Earth." This was unexpected. Humans shouldn't have detected them yet. Their sensors weren't supposed to be that advanced. "Put it on the main screen," June ordered. The large screen at the front of the bridge flickered, then showed the face of a human woman. She had calm eyes and wore a simple blue uniform. She looked directly at them, as if she could see them. "Greetings, Admiral June of the Dohan Empire," she said in perfect Dohan language. "I am Director Sun of Earth's Unified Defense Council. We welcome you to our solar system." Silence fell across the bridge. Every Dohan officer stared in shock. How did this human know their language? How did she know June's name? And how had they detected the fleet so early? June recovered quickly. "How are you speaking our language?" he demanded. Director Sun smiled slightly. "We intercepted your scout ship's transmissions 3 months ago. We've been studying you while you studied us." This was impossible. Dohan's stealth technology was the best in the known galaxy. No primitive species could detect their scout ships. "Your scout ship was very careful," Director Sun continued, as if reading his thoughts. "But its energy signature was unusual enough that our deep space monitoring stations noticed it. We've been preparing for your arrival ever since." June's face darkened with anger. "It doesn't matter. You cannot hope to resist the Dohan Empire. Surrender now, and your people will be treated fairly." Director Sun's expression remained calm. "We would prefer peaceful contact between our civilizations. We invite you to send representatives for diplomatic talks." Minho whispered to June, "Admiral, this is unusual. They should be panicking at the sight of our fleet." June ignored him. These humans were either very brave or very foolish. Either way, they needed to learn their place. "We do not negotiate with primitive species," June said coldly. "You will surrender or be conquered. Those are your only options." "I'm sorry to hear that," Director Sun replied. "Please reconsider. We have no wish for conflict." June cut the transmission with a gesture. "Prepare a demonstration," he ordered. "Send a single destroyer to their moon base. Destroy it completely." "Yes, Admiral," Tai replied, sending the orders. One of the smaller Dohan warships broke formation and accelerated toward Earth's moon. It was still a powerful vessel, capable of destroying small cities with a single blast. "Let's see how brave they are when they witness our power," Jun said. The destroyer moved quickly through the solar system. On the main screen, they watched its progress. It passed the gas giants and their many moons. It flew by the red planet the humans called Mars. Soon it approached Earth's moon. Suddenly, numerous small objects launched from Earth. They moved incredibly fast, faster than any human ship should be able to travel. "Admiral," Commander Hannah called out, her voice tense. "Earth has launched projectiles toward our destroyer." June smiled. "They're primitive missiles. Let them try." But these weren't ordinary missiles. They moved in patterns no Dohan had seen before, changing direction in ways that seemed to defy physics. "The destroyer is raising shields," Tay reported. On the screen, they watched as the human projectiles surrounded the Dohan ship. There was a brief flash of light as the destroyer's weapons fired, destroying some of the objects. But there were too many. "The destroyer reports their shields are holding at 80%, Hannah said. "The human weapons are stronger than expected." June frowned. "Impossible." Then something even more unexpected happened. Some of the human projectiles changed shape, extending metal arms that attached to the destroyer's hull. "They're boarding the ship," Minho exclaimed in disbelief. Within minutes, all communication with the destroyer stopped. The main screen showed the ship drifting, its engines dark. "What just happened?" June demanded, his voice rising. Before anyone could answer, Director Sun's face appeared on the screen again. "Admiral June," she said calmly, "we have disabled your destroyer and captured its crew. They are unharmed and will be treated according to international laws of war. This is your final chance to choose diplomacy over conflict." June slammed his fist on the console. "How? How did you do this?" "We've been preparing for contact with alien civilizations for decades," Sun explained. What you see as primitive technology is actually just what we've allowed your scouts to see." For the first time in his career, Admiral June felt uncertainty, but his pride wouldn't allow him to show weakness. "All ships, prepare for battle," he ordered. "Full attack formation." As the Dohan fleet began to move, thousands of objects launched from Earth and its orbital stations. They moved toward the fleet like a swarm of insects. "Admiral," Minho said quietly, "I recommend caution. These humans are not what we thought they were." June ignored him, his eyes fixed on the approaching human forces. "They think they can challenge the Dohan Empire. Let them try." Little did he know that the battle to come would change everything he thought he knew about warfare, about conquest, and about the species called humans. The main battle began 3 hours later. Admiral June stood on the bridge of the Asterisk, Eternal Victory Asterisk, watching as his fleet moved toward Earth. His face showed no emotion, but inside he felt something new: doubt. "All ships in attack formation," Commander Hanna reported. "Ready to engage on your order." June nodded. "Begin the attack. Target their largest military bases first." 20 Dohan warships moved ahead of the main fleet, their weapons powered up, glowing with energy. On the main screen, June could see Earth growing larger. The blue planet looked peaceful from a distance. "First wave of human defenses approaching," Officer Tay announced. "Small craft, similar to what they used against our destroyer." "Destroy them," June ordered. The Dohan ships fired their main weapons. Beams of energy cut through space toward the human vessels. Some hit their targets, causing small explosions, but most of the human ships moved in strange patterns, avoiding the Dohan weapons with ease. "They're too fast," Ta said with surprise. "Our targeting systems can't lock onto them." June frowned. "Impossible. Our systems can track anything." "Sir, the human ships are changing their approach," Hanna reported. "They're splitting into smaller groups." The screen showed the human forces dividing. Some headed toward one part of the Dohan fleet, others toward different sections. They weren't following any battle formation June recognized. "What are they doing?" he wondered aloud. His question was answered moments later when the human ships launched their attack. Instead of firing directly at the Dohan vessels, they targeted specific points on the ship shields. "Admiral," Ta called out. "They're hitting the same shield points repeatedly." June watched as 3 human ships fired at the exact same spot on a Dohan cruiser's shields. The shields began to flicker. "How do they know where our shield weak points are?" June demanded. Minho looked up from his console. "They must have analyzed the data from our destroyer. They're learning our technology, sir." "That's not possible. No species can learn that quickly." But the evidence was right in front of them. The humans were targeting the Dohan ships with surprising precision. 2 Dohan cruisers reported shield failures. Then a third. Then a fourth. "Launch all fighter ships," June ordered. "Surround those human vessels." Hundreds of small Dohan fighters launched from the larger ships. They swarmed toward the human forces, firing rapidly. For a moment, it seemed to work. Several human ships were hit, but then the humans changed tactics again. They stopped attacking the Dohan ships and instead scattered, drawing the Dohan fighters away from the main fleet. "Sir," Minho said, his voice tense, "I'm detecting new energy signatures from Earth." The main screen shifted to show massive weapons platforms rising from Earth's oceans. They had been hidden underwater, invisible to Dohan scanners. Now they rose up, pointing toward space. "Evasive maneuvers," Jun shouted. It was too late. The Earth platforms fired. Not energy beams like Dohan weapons, but something different. Something that moved through space like liquid metal, changing direction as it traveled. 3 Dohan warships were hit. Their shields held for a moment, then failed completely. The ships didn't explode. Instead, they simply stopped working. All systems shut down at once. "What kind of weapon is that?" June asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Unknown, sir," Minho replied. It seems to disable rather than destroy. As the battle continued, the humans revealed more surprises. When Dohan ships adjusted their shields to block the new weapon, the humans switched to a different attack. When the Dohan tried new tactics, the humans countered them almost immediately. After 6 hours of fighting, the Dohan fleet had lost 12 major warships and over 100 smaller vessels. They hadn't destroyed a single human platform or larger ship. Jun sat in his command chair, his face pale. This had never happened before. In 300 years, the Dohan Empire had never lost a battle. Admiral, Commander Hannah said quietly, we should consider retreating to regroup. The words stung Jun's pride. Retreat. The Dohan never retreated. Before he could respond, Officer Tai called out, Sir, 3 of our captured ships are moving. On the screen, they watched as 3 Dohan cruisers that had been disabled earlier began to move, but they weren't returning to the Dohan fleet. They were turning their weapons toward their former allies. They've taken control of our ships, Minho said in disbelief. They've figured out how to operate them in just a few hours. This was the final shock. No species had ever captured and operated Dohan technology so quickly. It took years of training for Dohan officers to learn their complex systems. How is this possible? Jun asked, not expecting an answer. Minho looked thoughtful. Sir, I've been analyzing human history from their broadcasts. They have something called adaptive thinking. They solve problems differently than we do. Explain, Jun demanded. The Dohan are trained to follow procedures, to do things the right way, the proven way. Humans, they try anything that might work. They call it thinking outside the box. They value new ideas over tradition. As if to prove this point, the humans launched a new attack. This time, small teams boarded several more Dohan ships. Unlike other species who would try to take control of the bridge or engines, the humans targeted the ship's communication systems first, cutting them off from the fleet. Sir, Hannah said, her voice firm now, we must retreat. We've lost 26% of our fleet. We need to report this to the Emperor. Jun's hands gripped the arms of his chair. His knuckles turned white. Everything in him rejected the idea of retreat, but he was a military commander first. His duty was to the Empire. Prepare for emergency jump, he finally ordered. All ships to fall back. The order went out across the fleet. The remaining Dohan ships began to turn away from Earth, preparing their engines for faster-than-light travel. As they did, Director Sun's face appeared on the main screen again. Admiral Jun, she said, we will allow your retreat. But know this, Earth is not interested in conquest as your empire is. We only want peace. Should you return with peaceful intentions, we will welcome you. Should you return with weapons, we will be ready. Jun didn't respond. He stared at the human woman with a mixture of anger and grudging respect. Faster than light drives ready, Tay reported. Jump, Jun ordered. The stars stretched into lines as the Dohan fleet fled from Earth. For the first time in his long career, Admiral Jun had met an enemy he couldn't defeat, a primitive planet of beings who somehow fought in ways he couldn't understand. As the blue planet disappeared behind them, Jun made a silent vow. This wasn't over. He would learn the human secrets. He would understand how they thought, how they fought. And next time, the Dohan would be ready. 3 years passed since the battle with Earth. Admiral Jun stood in the Grand Hall of the Emperor's palace. He was no longer a fleet commander. After the retreat from Earth, he had been given a new job, studying humans. The Emperor sat on his high throne, looking down at Jun. Tell me what you have learned about these humans, he said. Jun bowed low. My Emperor, humans are unlike any species we have met before. They do not think like us. In the 3 years since the failed attack, Jun had watched thousands of hours of human broadcasts. He had studied their history, their wars, their stories, and their science. What he found had changed him. The humans call themselves adaptable, Jun explained. When they face a problem, They try many different solutions, even strange ones. They value new ideas over old ways. The Emperor frowned. This is why they defeated your fleet. Because they think differently. Partly, my Emperor, but there is more. They learned very quickly. They saw our technology and understood it in days, not years. Intelligence Officer Minho, who now worked with June, stepped forward with a small device. He activated it, showing images of Earth's new spaceships. These vessels were built in the last 3 years, Minho said. They combine human and Dohan technology. They have taken what they learned from our captured ships and improved it. The Emperor leaned forward, his eyes wide. Improved our technology? Impossible. It is true, my Emperor, Jun said. Their ships now have better shields than ours. They move faster, and they have weapons we don't understand. The Emperor stood up, his face showing anger. Then we must build a bigger fleet. We must show these humans the true power of the Empire. Jun took a deep breath. What he would say next could cost him his life, but he had to speak the truth. My Emperor, I believe that would be a mistake. Silence fell over the hall. No one ever told the Emperor he was wrong. Explain, the Emperor said, his voice cold. Humans prepare for war like no other species, Jun said. In just 3 years, they have built defensive systems throughout their solar system. They have placed weapons on their moon, on their nearby planets, even in the empty space between worlds. Minho showed more images. Earth's moon now had large gun platforms. The planet Mars had new bases with long-range weapons. Even the large gas planet Jupiter had stations orbiting it, watching for any approach. If we attack again, Jun continued, we will lose more ships, perhaps all of them. And the humans might decide to counterattack. The Emperor sat down slowly. You fear these humans could threaten the Empire itself. Jun nodded. They could, my Emperor, but I don't believe they want to. This was the most surprising thing Jun had learned. Despite their remarkable ability to fight, humans didn't seem interested in conquering other worlds. Their messages to space were about peace, trade, and learning. Then what do you suggest? The Emperor asked. I believe we should make peace with Earth, Jun said. Not as conquerors, but as equals. These words had never been spoken in the Imperial Palace before. The Dohan had never seen any species as their equal. For a long moment, the Emperor was silent, thinking. Finally, he spoke. You will return to Earth, Admiral Jun. Not with warships, but with a single diplomatic vessel. You will speak to these humans and learn if peace is possible. 6 months later, Jun's ship approached Earth again. This time, he came alone in a small vessel with no weapons. As his ship entered Earth's solar system, he was met by human patrol ships. Admiral Jun, came a familiar voice over the communication system. This is Director Sun. Welcome back to Earth. I come in peace, Jun said, the words strange on his tongue. The Dohan Empire wishes to speak with Earth about a possible agreement between our worlds. Sun's face appeared on his screen. She looked older, but her eyes were still calm and confident. We are glad to hear this, she said. Follow our ships to the meeting place. The human vessels led Jun's ship to a large space station orbiting between Earth and its moon. The station was impressive, a blend of human design and Dohan technology. As Jun docked his ship and walked into the station, he noticed how humans and former Dohan prisoners worked side by side. In a large meeting room, Director Sun waited with other human leaders. Jun entered alone, without guards. Admiral Jun, Sun said, you are the first Dohan to visit Earth peacefully. We hope you will not be the last. Jun bowed his head slightly. I have come to understand many things about humans. Your species is remarkable. Sun smiled. And we have learned much about the Dohan. Your technology is impressive. Your discipline is admirable. For the next week, Jun and the human leaders talked about peace. The humans did not demand that the Dohan surrender or give up their empire. Instead, they proposed trade, cultural exchange, and mutual defense. "We face a large galaxy," Sun explained. "Perhaps there are threats that neither humans nor Dohan have met yet. Would it not be better to face them together?" On the final day, June and Sun stood in an observation room, looking down at Earth below. The blue planet turned slowly, clouds swirling over oceans and land. "Your world is beautiful," June said. "So is yours, I imagine," Sun replied. "I hope to see it someday." June turned to her. "3 years ago, I came to conquer your world. I was so certain of victory." Sun nodded. "And now?" "Now I understand that true strength isn't about having the biggest weapons or the most ships. It's about being able to change, to grow, to find new solutions. That is the human way," Sun said. "We call it progress." June looked back at Earth. "The Emperor has agreed to the peace treaty. For the first time, the Dohan Empire will have an ally, not a subject." As his ship left Earth a few days later, June thought about how much had changed. The Dohan had believed nothing could defeat them until they met Earth. But in defeat, they had found something better than victory. They had found a new way forward. In the years that followed, human and Dohan ships would explore the galaxy together. Human adaptability combined with Dohan precision created technology neither could have built alone. And when new threats emerged from the dark spaces between stars, the combined fleet of Earth and the Dohan Empire stood ready to face them. The species that once thought nothing could defeat them had learned the greatest lesson of all. Sometimes the strongest path is not conquest, but cooperation.